The one that you got?
I got the XR, the iPhone XR.
Okay.
And they've just offered me the upgrade up to a 12.
Uh,
And I'm just figuring, no, I think this is adequate. There we are.
howdy, howdy. All right.
That looks pretty live to me.
It's there. Yeah. Let me adjust some things. So, hello, hello, hello. I need nourishment. Water.
Just typing in a message. You're gonna go. There's Cher.
Indeed, indeed.
How you doing, hon?
Let me.
She's got a bit of a bad headache at the moment.
Still
Spoke to her
on?
earlier. Yeah, she's been in front of a screen all day, tapping in figures, and she's just got square eyes, I think.
Yeah, happens to me when I'm just in between this, that, and gaming at times, and it's Amelia has to tell me, "Hey, blink." And I'm like, "Oh yeah, that's a thing."
Oh yeah, yeah. I know. I play.
Yeah.
I only ever play one game,
What's
and
that?
that's Need for Speed Carbon.
Nice.
Okay, so it's the only game I've got on an Xbox 360.
Hey,
But
beautiful system.
I notice when I do a race, after my eyes are streaming because I haven't blinked
You
for so
haven't
long.
blinked, yeah. And then like you try to, and it's slow.
Yeah, like gritty.
Like no, yeah, for sure. I mean, so have you had any whimsy throughout the week since today's the Wednesdays of whimsy?
Whimsday.
Yep.
I have had a couple of eureka moments that have, through all of the toil and trouble that there has been, I've just found that I've seen a beautiful way through it.
Yeah.
And that's just being the same guy I was in the first place.
Did you have any deja vu moments? Because I had a really like not strange one, but like a very knowing one the other day on your show when I was just listening to you in the chat saying hey and back and forth, and yeah, I was like, oh wow, okay.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I had one a moment ago with you.
Ah, snap. Yeah, see?
I had a deja vu moment when I told you that they've offered me a phone upgrade. That was bizarre.
Matrix is
Yeah.
that part of, today is, that. And I look at it too, we've looked at tomorrow being a pivotal number
Yeah.
for, you know, many circumstances, but and today, if you add it up, it ends up being like 11. So I like to see 11 as, 1 and 1, that, those pivotal
continuity.
Right. And, the way forward is, between two lines. It's like the lane, actually.
Right.
Right. The avenue, as it were. There's
also 11 describes your temple area.
right.
So
Yeah. So
the pillars that hold up the crown.
Yes, for sure. And yeah, like the body and everything, that's expanded chakra system too. So
Yes.
yeah, beautiful things.
Yeah.
So
Where is it?
Ah, it's right here.
Ah, there we go.
Indeed.
I feel complete.
It's a good thing,
Yeah, yeah,
thank Amelia. It was a beautiful gift from her. So
yeah,
yeah,
yeah.
that's one of my favorite gifts, and I have many others. She got me a really cool feather quill, and as you know, I'm obsessed with maps, and it's like a box that's covered in vintage style map.
Oh,
Yeah,
lovely.
yeah, it's cool.
Yeah, well, I've got this. Hang on, I'll show you, and this will. I think this will do it for you as well.
Uh-oh.
Oh,
Uh-huh. Uh-oh.
you
Nice.
see this?
I do. My second favorite thing is chess.
Yeah, this is a proper chest. It has all my airbrushing supplies in,
Awesome.
but it's covered in old maps, ships, buckles,
Mhm.
leather. It's a beautiful thing.
It is a beautiful thing.
This I meant to say to the people as well. If you see me wearing this Superman top a lot, it's my kind of evening slip over, if you know what I mean.
Yeah.
It's what I slip on to smoke in, and then
Right.
it's just it's like my PJs, if you like. So,
Yeah. Fun.
yeah,
It's a nice, comfortable shirt. It helps you be.
yeah,
Yeah. So,
yeah, definitely. Who we got in, mate?
um, let's see.
A few.
Sherry's with us. Victoria's with us. Mark, Vladimir, and Hopes. So, yeah. Today's full of whimsy over the last few days. I would say it's like a point in which culmination has begun to process, and
Mm.
tomorrow, as today lines up to 11, tomorrow would never be 12, and that's a cycle, and then 12 equals 3, and that is completion, the mind,
Binary.
body, and soul. I mean, it's like on and on, this week of completion, creation, and completion, and manifesting is really powerful right now, and part of that is like how we've been stuck in the numbers, where literally, figuratively, matrix, and that is a paradigm of third dimensional thought, because on in the numbers you can basically analyze and see the fourth dimension, but you can't physically see it, right?
Mm.
So that's where the matrix and the matrices kind of gets into play, where we're imagining and creating the fourth, where the
Well,
fifth
it's funny
is
you should mention the Matrix.
right.
These moments of clarity I've had, these couple of
Mm-hmm.
moments of clarity, I can only liken it to, where Neo steps into the corridor
Mm-hmm.
and
And
Smith is at the end,
right.
and they all shoot at him,
Mm-hmm.
and he just goes, stop.
Right.
And it all just stops.
Mm-hmm.
And then he kind of flexes his muscles, and the whole corridor goes.
Right. He.
I felt that kind of, oh,
Yeah.
that kind of thing whereby, and it's funny because Larissa said last night, White Rabbit
Mm-hmm.
said last night in a thing that she felt like her aura almost had an oil slick over it, and things were just bouncing off her. And I said, well, welcome to your armor of God.
Mm-hmm.
You are
Yeah.
protected.
Yes.
It's an ascension, totally.
It is. And
And it's
that's what I was
beautiful.
thinking. It was like, almost that re-entry force
Yeah.
that, yeah, that, and but going upwards because you're plowing through all the bullshit essentially. I mean, in lesser terms. So
It's just a matter of
yeah,
time.
um,
Um,
that's the wave like we were discussing just a second ago. Yeah.
yeah, as we're flexing our spiritual and mental strength, like Neo in that corridor,
Hmm.
you know,
Yeah.
it's just a matter of time. It's like Cher agree.
Yeah. I'm
Uh,
I'm
the
agreeing.
other night,
Yeah.
sorry, mate. The other night, I showed her aura
Nice.
by letting her sit and feel the edges of where her energy field
Hmm.
were. And then she moved out with the other hand, and I said, "This is where your aura is to."
Hmm.
And she sat there and she was like, "Have I got them?" I was like, "You've got them." And wow,
Yes.
wow. And she really identified with the fact that I'd shown her. Well, it's kind of like a new tool. So for a start,
Yeah.
you're going to look at it and it might be a little bit scary, this
Hmm.
tool. It might be a little bit, you've not used it before. But
I
like
think
everything else, once you get the hang of that tool, the job becomes so much easier.
easier, and instead of work, it's skill, and then from
Yeah.
skill, mastery. And
What I'm saying is, if Larissa has already created the energy field,
yeah.
sees the aura,
Oh yeah.
and has then protected it,
She,
she's doing amazingly.
like definitely that would be the culmination of the ascension, in the most only explainable physical way we can say it. It's
but by all means, she's doing it by
oh,
herself.
yes.
She's
That's
got this.
Oh yeah. I mean, it doesn't take any outside um force as or you know
Catalyst.
right, because it's
Yeah.
all truly within us. Thank
Yes.
And when we go in and it's like not bowling or just allowing, that kind of energy to when we do our meditations and when we just allow
Still
still,
ourselves.
yeah,
Yeah.
allow stillness of self, of image, of all that, and relinquish it. It's beautiful, and that's part of the kind of message and theme of this week today. And the whimsy is, we've had trouble with snow, and it's quite literally and figuratively going on because seek not ownership. You know, that's like
Yeah.
we don't truly own anything. This is all
Anything.
tangible and malleable, and we're all in flow and in tandem with one another. It's like all life is one, and it is flowing freely and you know righteously. So I mean,
Yeah.
it's good teams.
Oh yeah. Always. It was the uh, it was the second eureka moment that I had, was the fact that if you just let life do it, just follow your nose,
Yeah,
then life uncomplicates itself around you. the more effort you put in, it's almost like it's got a kickback, like a good rifle.
Mm-hmm.
And
yeah, I mean, it does, because it is one of those.
it's a
Poof.
jolt.
Yeah, it's like
Yeah.
sometimes, even it feels like something pushed you. Or like, whoa, in those weird tangible moments, I would say, instead of deja vu's or simultaneous time, it's just like as if a ghost run by you. They say like the chills, like a possum walked over your grave, or someone's dancing on your grave, or whatever. You kind of get those
Yeah.
weird chills, so. But it's like more than that. It's physically being moved by, like, whoa.
Yeah.
But
Wow. Whoa.
yeah,
Like, wow. Yeah. Absolutely. Oh, hi, Eric B. How are you, my friend? And just Stark on in and
family.
Spiked in. Yeah. Got
Yeah,
quite a few in.
what's going on, everybody?
Um,
I believe he is doing well so far. What we've heard, he's eating well. Thank you to the
oh,
lionesses. He's been doing good. I mean, like,
apparently he's been doing absolutely
yeah.
sterling
I mean,
work
like,
inside
yeah.
the
That's
prison. So
that's what I'm saying. It's like
brilliant.
words can't really. He's like, I mean, it's hard to conceptualize because of the situation, but the situation is so profoundly transformational that
Yeah.
it is
Yeah.
doing just that. A massive metamorphosis. It's been his card for flying, and he sprouting his wings in more glorious manner and
Yeah. Oh, it
changing
is
lives.
so part of his journey. It's
It
unbelievable.
is, it is, and how he changed us and allowed us to come together, and
Yes.
I mean, just the impact. Think what he is doing right now is massively profound as well. I mean,
Yeah.
he's changing life. He's a beacon, and
Yeah.
he's been glowing. So he's doing well, and
Yeah. He's doing well, I think.
he's been well fed by the lionesses. So
Yeah, as
yeah.
indeed. Yeah. They've properly looked after him.
Oh yes, yes, which is such a blessing. Gratitude. I know. So
Oh.
Tricky, you mentioned a conversation the other night. That
Hmm.
he brought me along in on it, that we hadn't had it and we're having it and so forth. So
Dyson spheres.
yes, yes. Now
Okay.
I didn't get to that doc, but we've talked about this many
Yeah.
times, and
Well, I've since learned that there are three concepts
mm-hmm,
for the design of these things from a human standpoint. So it's being considered.
right,
The first one is
they're
the
fully
Elon
on this
Musk is
point.
Elon
Yeah.
Musk is playing with it right now,
Mm-hmm.
and that is he's put synchronous satellites in orbit, and he's going to keep adding to that until there is a complete global ring of
Yeah,
satellites moving around the Earth constantly.
right.
That's the first one. Onto those, then you could put reflective panels,
Mm-hmm.
which would reflect more heat back to the planet or turn away and let it cool.
Right.
Then, of course, you could attach them all together.
Mm-hmm. Make
So
like
they were tethered. The whole
like,
thing was one ring.
right.
So that's the second concept. So the first one is to have them satellite orbiting. The
Mm-hmm.
second one is to have a solid ring orbiting. And the
Right.
third one is to enclose a whole sun.
Right.
Now that's apparently that's a type 3 civilization on the Kardashev level.
Yeah, that
On
actually envelops a star. Yeah,
it was Kardashev who came up with the whole idea
of the
and
different
named it.
types. Yeah,
Yeah, and named it Dyson. So we, in understanding that a level 3 civilization can envelop a whole sun and be totally reliant on all of that power for probably millennia. And then you've got to think, well, where do we currently sit on the Kardashev level?
yeah.
And the reality is we are not even a type half.
Well, we're getting a type one. That's what.
We are
Yeah,
getting there.
getting there.
Yes. We are
And,
really getting there. But we
and
need to make a quantum leap to do it.
well, see, that's the best thing about it. When you're looking at the quantum level, which is like very much so the shift that the Earth and the collective, all of it's doing, is that's like here and here. It's you know it's simultaneous in the sense that it's happening.
It's
It's
all happening at once. Yeah.
right, right.
Yeah.
So and that kind of echoes back to when we think of the Atlanteans, how far along in that process they already were. And probably,
Yeah.
I suspect we're regressing back to a type one because of
Of where
where,
civilization has been.
right, right.
Right.
And I mean, and I think the wave is like a learning and maturing one as it were. It's very much so tidal because it's in mass. So that just it gives me hope. It gives me,
Of
you know
course.
yeah.
Yeah. But
So
why not think of it that way? Because if what we're saying about Egyptian technology, Sumerian technology,
mhm,
so on is true,
right.
then yeah, we definitely took a huge leap backwards.
hmm I think
Definitely.
that's due to the the well the flood, then
Yeah.
uh, that could have been you know the first mass global warming after the ice age.
Well, don't forget, we're the recovery crew.
Right. And that's that too, because this is the time where it's funny you said that though, because this morning me and Amelia woke up, or I got home from work and we were talking, and she asked about soul contracts, and yeah, so the recovery crew, after a big wave physically,
Big
it takes,
blanket.
yeah,
Let's whitewash it and start again, sort of thing, from a few.
well,
Well,
yeah,
that's us.
you're right, and recovery crew, there's gonna be, I mean, salvaging and
Yeah.
overhaul to do, it's part of,
And
you
we're at that point as a species where
mhm,
we're now diving the oceans and finding lost cities,
yeah,
and
so,
we're breaking into mountains and finding out that the whole civilization has lived in them.
yeah, and
And
it
it's
goes
like,
back to old talk we've had too about what happened when they went in the earth,
yeah,
I mean, they
yeah.
scattered everywhere after Atlantis fell,
Well,
and
you see, it was the reason my whole concept started, was
hmm
because this realm is a blue pearl in a
yeah,
sea of darkness and dryness and cold.
and
So
and the clam's mouth figuratively too. So
it made me go, well, how's this specific body of rock pulling
mhm,
that off?
right,
So
it's
I thought straight away, well, what if Earth actually surrounds a small collapsed star?
Hey, yeah,
What if Earth actually is the Dyson sphere,
is the Dyson
and
sphere.
in the center is what was its name? Alakabaz or something. In the meant to be the place in the center of the Earth.
Agartha.
Agartha. Thank you, mate. Well, it'd be like a tropical paradise in there if they'd harnessed and controlled what was left of that dying star.
Right. And very much so, a journey to the center of the earth perpetuated this
Right?
existence, and
Yeah.
that's where the mythos of how we see Atlantis, this fabled Greekish city fell into the earth, and it was like, but it's way older than that. The true Atlantis like beckons back to the days of Eden and such. It's,
Yes. Yes.
I mean, so
Yes. Oh.
yeah.
So 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 then you realize why Earth has got such a magnetic pull and push.
Mm-hmm.
It explains all manner of things why there are ley lines, because if there is a construct inside this crust,
Mm-hmm.
it would stand out a mile. Now, if you were going to build something around a sun, the
Right.
first thing you'd do was build the framework, and then you'd put the panels on the outside of that to make it fully enclosed. But if you look at the way the Earth grids its power ley lines,
Mm-hmm.
it looks like a framework for something built with a framework underneath it.
Yeah. It's like the blueprints upon the blueprints, like the city work, the sewer work, the
Oceans for a
yeah,
full cooling system,
right.
volcanoes for a full heat outlet system.
Mm-hmm.
It's absolutely perfect.
It,
It's
it's
exactly
designed, yeah,
what is required.
right.
And we
And
we perhaps just run around on the crust thinking we're the best, and
and
it's all going on inside, right?
yeah, we've talked about that before too. When we first mentioned it that time, and ever since, it's it's popped up many times and just random blurps throughout my my wanderings and my games or whatever. It'll be something that elicits that Dyson sphere. And so,
With
how you were
Hollow
saying
Earth.
that first ring has to maintain a whole lot of power and stuff. And I
Oh
don't
yeah.
know if you remember, like Nick watched one. It was like the diagram of the galaxy essentially, and how it's all Earth, and the central Earth is that Agartha, and it holds in that Dyson sphere. It has its own perpetual
Oh,
star.
Norb's theory.
Right. And
Yeah,
thank you.
that was epic.
And isn't it though? So it makes you think. It makes you wonder, and we're starting to see more and more of these celestial bodies change. So as a Dyson sphere works, it moves in tandem with like the pulses of the
Yes.
gravitational pull of the star. And I think back to those weird little balls, how it was like looked like jacks, but it's balls, and you pull it apart and it expand into that little plastic flick ball.
Yes.
Okay, all right, that. All right,
It's a
so
three-dimensional like
adaptation
ball.
of yeah,
Yes.
so yeah, and
It's an
that is
atomic
essential.
structure.
Right. That is essentially, the frameworks evolved.
Yes.
And
Yes.
it, we talk about the subliminal thing. It's not necessarily subliminal. It's, passing on. It's the storytelling of things, you know. I I say that just because, much like the Dyson sphere adage, it feels like a new layer was stacked on, and that would be the regression of
Maybe.
right because it's further away, but it's it needs to be because it's harnessing or transmuting different energy. Yeah.
Well, if you look at the Truman Show,
Hmm.
perfect example.
Right. Breaking the
So
fourth wall.
a world inside a world, with no distinguishing non-realities.
Right.
Everything seems just as it should be.
Exactly as it should
And
be.
then, of course, he found the outer wall
Right.
through strife, and he went through the door at the end of it.
Well,
It's it's
that's the old philosophical odage. This happened back in the
it.
Renaissance too.
That's right.
And it's
So, what if space is just the ceiling of
I'm,
this? Yeah, it's like the floor of another ring,
right.
another layer,
Yeah. And
and we're all just inside, and that's why everything's dark outside our atmosphere. Because, well, what do you do with a room that
yeah,
doesn't need anything? It's
it's the window to elsewhere. Basically, it's that veil, and you gotta sometimes poke your head through it.
and it makes me think that that's why the ancients were building the Tower of Babel
Yeah, to literally do a ladder. It was
to that next floor. Yeah.
right.
And of course, we hear the stories that God took it down
Right.
and changed all of their languages between them, so they couldn't communicate with each other
Yeah,
anymore.
because it was that communication. It was telepathic.
Right.
And I don't. All right. So that story of Babylon is you know, the the Luciferi tale, like as Third
Yeah.
Eye puts it. Yeah, I love it when she says that. It's very true. So the fairy tale, as it is their spin on, much like Lucifer would look at God and like, well, he was a mean dad, you know. Say, but so so I mean,
He was strict, wasn't it?
right, you're getting where I'm going with it. So
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
yes, all of that is very much the same as we look to the expansion of like the old Lemurian and Atlantean,
Yeah.
dilemma is
And Spike's just put Jacob's ladder as well.
yes, I very much see it's and our DNA is like a helix, but it is a ladder to through our lineage and through our knowledge, very much the ladder to the Akash, as it were. And
So,
yeah,
so
go ahead.
it's all right. I've just had a mad one go through my head. So, imagine as human beings, you've just done everything you can
Mhm.
to put a rocket with people on the tip of it into
Mhm.
space.
Right.
And they say that they're going to the moon.
Hmm.
So you finally get to the moon and you get off your craft and you realize you're standing on a massive lens, a camera lens,
Yeah.
a projector lens.
Right.
And the engineers are all around the edge, all watching you,
Hmm.
all these onlookers.
Yeah.
Um, it sounds like Buzz Aldrin's story to me. They're all around the edge and they're
Hmm.
watching us.
Yeah.
And you're not welcome back here again. So suddenly man realizes that the moon is a projector screen, a
Yeah.
projector lens.
Or the microscopic scope, the actual lens on a microscope. We've talked about us being a petri dish before,
Oh, actually looking in and as a
yeah,
microbial. Oh,
right. We're the universe within a microbial, and this
ooh,
goes back to the figurative Dyson
oh,
sphere that back to Nick's awesome movie, The Cube, how he breaks it down. It goes back to the Babylon Tower to Saturn and how the North Pole of the Saturn used to be kind of in tandem, and they were trying to link the two, and that would be, you know, adage to actually building a new ring. It has to be kind of, you know, anchored to an
yeah,
internal ring so it can be, properly built, and then it'll be broken loose so that it can go in tandem how it's supposed to,
yeah,
or experimentally. And that's, you know, our galaxies. And right now we have like two passing through. So it's like this weird spiral and spiral kind of
where
making,
are you? Where are you with Nibiru?
I don't know how it's kind of hanging out instead of passing through.
Well,
Or
no, I've heard it's currently behind our sun.
right. It looped around, but it's kind of sitting over there now.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah, which is
Yeah.
if anybody doesn't know what Nibiru is Planet X, and it's meant to
Right.
come through this solar system. Is it every 23,000 years or something?
Something like that. It's a fairly long cycle. It's
Yeah, and apparently it's the home of the Anunnaki.
yeah. That's kind of the going adage to that. It's
Yeah, yeah,
where they came from and how they became present here was the already human, not inception, but kind of interaction, as it were, to the rest of the cosmos.
enhancements.
Right. Well, not enhancements, more like, transmutations of
Yeah,
beings,
yeah,
you know, linkage. In a way, the watchers and the daughters of men, created the Nephilim, much in the same, you know, that is a repeated story, that is it's looked at as angels, but it's been everything, you know, things have constantly incorporated themselves amongst and through humans to further grow and cultivate something that also back to like a petri dish, it's
I've just had another download. Okay,
yeah, let me hear it. I'm all
so
about them.
so if if we're on the an inner surface on, say, a dual layer Dyson
Mhm.
sphere,
Right.
it would explain why the Earth went dark. It was when it was all enclosed in, which
Yeah.
would explain an ice age.
Right. Like
And then, of course, once you've
internal.
built that room,
Yeah.
because we are now in a room with a
Hmm.
ceiling,
Right.
then you'd have to find a way to get it acclimatized so that life could exist in it again. So it
Yeah.
would have to be made into, so much of it would have to be a vacuum.
Hmm.
Some of it would have to have atmosphere. It would have
Right.
to have oxygen.
Hmm.
It'd have to have heat. So they put up a giant sun lamp, which is too far away for us to get to.
Yeah.
And they put a great big projector screen,
Hmm.
and they work in tandem inside there.
Yeah.
And before long, the ice started to melt, and here we are.
Uh, it's beautiful. You said that. I've had, the kind of inspired thought, I would say, not so much a vision, but after we've had this conversation many times, like I literally think of like a hologram, but like it's, you know, this weird map, as it were, just kind of in the middle of a room, and
Like a
there's
lattice work, like a grid.
right, and it's just kind of sitting there, not quite like a snow globe, but similar. And
Yeah.
you have these, like you were saying, engineers or whatever walking around, and they're every now and then they'll pay attention to whatever's going on because they can just kind of zoom in on, you know, much like we can our map on our phone. They can
Yeah.
do on this thing. So the lights that we see, is just the reflection, like we've talked about many times. The reflection is the stars,
Of the shell.
right? And the moon is this, the nighttime. It's like a one of those, not cascading lights, but just it's like a light on a rail almost.
Yeah.
And the sun is one that they kind of actually put down, for observing, and I don't know,
It's
because we
when,
don't see
when
it at times. Like I didn't see the moon last night much. I think I saw it come up, and then this morning it's out and about. It's out right now too, I think. So
well, if I'm right in thinking, in its bodily movements, it's just gone round the bottom of its figure eight, and it's coming to that
mhm,
small loop of the eight at the top.
yeah, right. And it's
And
kind of
that's when sometimes it can disappear from our sight because it overlaps its old path.
right.
And the Earth tilts, and you just
Yeah,
apparently can't see it. But
yeah. Polar shifts, and it
what
kind
people
of
have also got to remember is that
oh,
the moon orbits the Earth about 2.25 or 2.75 times a day.
mm-hmm.
So sometimes you'll see it in the day sky
Yeah. I guess
and
out
think,
right now.
yeah, yeah, and think, wow, there's the moon. Yeah, well, it goes round about two and three quarter, I think, times a day.
Yeah.
And you don't get to see
Well,
some of them.
those big wooden tops. I was thinking about this, the different spirals and how they, if you look at a top, besides Discworld, I've thought it to be a wild top. Whenever I heard about
Oh,
the
oh,
poles, whenever I heard
sorry, my
about the,
friend.
no, you're fine, everything well.
Yeah, I'll tell you what I'll do. If you don't mind,
Mm-hmm.
I'll just mute myself because that was my daughter and I always
Oh,
worry.
please.
Here she goes again. All
Yeah.
right, let me mute.
No, you're good. So yeah, I was looking and having this idea for to show y'all some of what we're talking about. And it's kind of working, but not working at the same time. So a Dyson sphere is what we were. Let me see. Ooh,
Hey, man,
technology. Hey, bro.
it's all good.
Yeah. Can you
Oh, yeah. Look at that lot.
uh I just
Look at that lot. Now, if you look at the one in the top right-hand corner, that would kind of explain why you've got a hollow Earth theory of
mm-hmm,
both of the poles.
right. So expanding all of this, these are images of Dyson spheres all around.
I like that middle one at the bottom, because that's how you would begin.
Right.
That'd be the framework.
Yeah.
Yeah.
There's and So with this whole idea, back to like the Metatron, the cube, the whole encompassing of this universe, that is
Mm-hmm.
essentially also, you know, that's the fractal nature of things. It too would be described as a Dyson sphere. And
Yeah,
but like on a macro level, it's
right.
I like that's macrocosms, microcosms. I mean, we very well could be, they say life started from bacteria. Well, that's done in a petri dish. We do it constantly. It's
Yeah.
taught in chemistry class. And performed. It's applied. Hey, it's showing you the minuscule things of nature, and I just start to look at all the fractals in the world, and piecing that puzzle together is profoundly interesting and fun, but at the same time, it's like coming to the realization that it's not a puzzle. It is, much like you were saying, the blueprint.
Yeah.
And yeah, it's beyond piecing together. It is together.
Course,
It's right.
of course, the other option would be that the moon was a Dyson sphere
Right.
and
It.
it traveled here through using that power,
Mm-hmm.
that energy. And because I keep referring back to it every now and then in my talks and our
Mm-hmm.
talks, that, like I say, the Aborigines said there was a time before the moon.
For the moon, yeah.
So what if that is our power source, because it does control the tidal
It.
energy?
Mm,
So
had to shift to a dormant star, maybe, because
yeah,
yeah.
yeah. And have you heard recently? Because I watch quite a lot of documentaries about what they are finding out in deep space through these
Mm-hmm.
telescopes. And there's that one star that they've said is different to every other star. And there is something around, all the way around this star. And they can see the gap and then the dim, and then the gap and then the dim,
Mm,
like giant structures
yeah.
were circling this star. And they
So
said we might be witnessing the very first
oh,
construction of a Dyson sphere.
yeah. I honestly I believe it's true, and that's why we've had these slowly implementations that that's either what we need to be pushed towards. That's like part of the birthing process is coming to that technology or coming back to that technology, as it were,
Yeah.
because
Enabling ourselves to
right.
move forward.
And I mean, going back to the toys, to the different variables on all of that, how it's been kind of passed down in the storytelling of things that you can almost put structure to it. If it's that's kind of in simplistic terms because it's beyond structure. I mean, it is fractal in nature, and it gets its own never-ending spiraling structure in a way, but it's beyond that in a way. And much like we were talking about crystalline energy,
Yeah.
that's where it comes from. Once you have this view of all the facets of a diamond, well, if you shift to a new perspective, it creates a totally new diamond, just like any one spot on a sphere is its center.
Yeah.
It's these almost constants. I don't want to call them constants because it keeps us in that structured
I don't
paradigm.
know. I think through anything we're about to
Mm-hmm.
go through, because I'm still convinced.
Yeah,
Um, I think structure remains something you need to
I mean,
keep a keep an
yeah,
eye on, because
right.
if you don't structure anything, then you'd
No,
never build a boat to get off a desert island. You just never do it. You just die
right,
right there.
right, and
So
I feel like that's the God question too. Like, why did he do it? Because it came from chaos, and chaos in of
Yeah,
itself ended up being wasting. Not just wasting of potential, but like wasting away. It
yeah,
was so chaotic, it became boring. Such a terrible term to me for that, but in those profound boredom moments, how we're like, oh, you just allow yourself to pass the time, because it's
yeah,
like a no, not lack of motivation, but in that same, yeah. So
yeah.
yeah, but that the adversity of that is what sparks that creation is, and it becomes in tandem with things, much like that Dyson sphere, how it wraps around
Who's
itself.
who's just put that Daniel out of the lion den?
Mm-hmm.
Pyramids gather photons and channel them straight to the top like a wireless charger.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Nicely
Like,
put, sir.
so yeah, all these old spaceport cities, they've talked about it on the History Channel, and there's a bunch of big names that support it, and then keep talking about it, and it's all good information, but the information is there. It's that's essentially what happened. Why else would there be pools of mercury in places? Mercury
Yeah,
is of itself can be molded much like energetic liquid, essentially.
yeah,
Like how we can utilize Reiki, Tai Chi, Qigong, all of that. It's to manifest our aura, like you were speaking on earlier, and tangibly. And it's a beautiful thing. So, like, I think it's awesome what you and Sherry got to do, because, to make it tangible, just for even if for a split second,
yeah,
is like a profound and just wonderful thing.
yeah.
Um, and it, yeah, so shit, I lost the train of thought there. I was wrapped up in the
All right,
goodness of that. I got back on it. It's like a hug.
absolutely.
Yeah.
Well, I mean, if we're going to go down the whole kind of Norbs theory now,
Mm.
so
Of it's
coming
Earth
back to
itself
Dyson
being,
spheres,
yeah, Earth itself being one. Yeah.
but I like this idea that there are rings, ever decreasing circles of
Hmm.
rings, and the planet, and it all comes and clips together
Right.
to make a whole.
Hmm.
Quite like that, because that explains how places like Atlantis would disappear
Right.
and so on, because it's just, yeah, yeah.
It's clipped, and look how it was depicted by Plato, and I
Yeah,
mean down to the T, that it was three rings. It had inflowing rivers from the mountains on the north. They
yeah,
utilized technology that was. He didn't use technology, but essentially he, in his way, called it magic, but it wasn't magic, because the Greek view on magic was like from the goddess, and not of, unliked by greater gods, as it were. So this, as he described it, was something a little bit more profound. It was like how we just depict quantum, quantum manifestation over, paradigmal shift manifestation. The difference would be like how I was saying earlier, here to here, it's all here, because you are that bridge, essentially.
yeah,
Yeah. So don't know if I saw it, but yeah.
yeah.
um yeah. And I mean, there's been a couple of really cool channels that have said this, and uh, I like the way they've said it is, take a two-dimensional sheet and look at the man stick figure you draw on it. He has to get from, you have to draw a line for him to get from point A to point B. But suddenly you're point B and point A, and he he's freaking out because he's like, "Who the hell are you? And how did you get there?" You know, it's so much like how we wouldn't see those outer spheres and inner lines. You know, after Atlantis was done being attached to us to help, you know, facilitate more. You know, it's
this realm,
right.
it moved to the next.
It breaks away. It's like kind of much like you were saying, almost like Lego pieces. If you could just stretch them out and still kind of keep them in like this weird ethereal tandem into like this weird spiraling pyramid. Almost, it's almost like a
Well,
pyramid.
what you've got to imagine that if again, if based on this is a multi-level Dyson sphere,
I would say it is.
Whoever's controlling it would have a lift system that went from center to outer. They would have a lift system of some sort, some kind. Again,
that would be the pole
maintenance crew.
Yeah, that would be the poles. And
right.
I bet you that's where Agartha is, you know.
Right.
That's the maintenance hub. That's the, you know, the base station basically, or even I don't know, I can't remember what it's called in Star Trek, but you know. They fly into it and everything's being basically worked on. It's like this little tube they fly into, but it's a huge space station, and it fixes everything. They just go out like a car wash damn near.
That's right. Yeah, they just pack them in, pack them out.
Yeah,
it's and if you listen to the testimony of Dickie Bird, the guy who went on Project. Project.
Shit. Now that you said something, but he led the expedition to the poles.
To the pole.
Yeah. Right.
And he said that his aircraft flew across and then was just like literally like tractor beamed in.
Yeah, suspended almost, like it had no more control, and he was guided.
That's right.
By two aircrafts to the central platform, essentially. Like, and yeah, that's what I was saying. Like, you know, those types of testimonies of, you know, the physical and the tangible,
they've got to be considered.
Right. It has to be. And then once you start considering your own physical and tangible experiences in your life, because everyone is somewhere connected to the ether, you know, it's constantly present, you know, it is the fabric, you know. So if you want to call it the matrix, whatever you wish it is, and you are, you know, that's kind of back to last talk was, you know, I love Alan Watts and how he puts it. He's just very, I mean, he has a smear to him just because I mean, he's rubbed people the wrong way, and that's not accepting, you know.
I don't know whether you know anything about his personal life.
Well, it had some flair to it.
He was an alcoholic.
Yeah. I mean, so
and bless him. So
well, I mean, I think he just led to indulgence in a way.
Yes.
Yes. I don't think it's anything against his character by any means, because you can still, you know, hear lectures from him in his later stages, and he's still just as crisp as
sharp as a pin.
Yeah, I mean, so, but yeah, he traveled, he embraced. I mean, he perfected his own manner of Zen, you know, and then passed it on and taught and, you know, lectured and guided.
Exactly.
And hell, give the man his drinks.
If it's drink that's making him be able to do this, You never know. A
Yeah,
man,
he's
a
the
man with a
epitome of
drink
I drink and
problem.
I know things.
Yeah, yeah,
Yeah.
exactly. He may not have had the courage to step out of himself without a drink, to share it with us all. He
Right.
may not. So, you've got to say to yourself, well, it made an excellent man. There is no talk that Alan Watts has done where I've had to sort of look at it and go, what did he just say? Because everything he says has purpose.
Oh, it does. Like,
Everything he says feels right.
mm-hmm.
I haven't got a bad word for the man.
Me neither. And, like, he's helped me tremendously, and
Yeah,
I'm ever grateful to him. He's been a massively profound teacher, and also
indeed, without even
I
knowing he
say a
was.
good friend too, because he's in all of his interactions. That is his tone. His
He
so.
always, he always, he always put fun into it.
No, I mean, and I think
Made it
that's
very
important,
relaxed.
right? And I think that's important to all guidance or interaction. Even like I was saying the other day, follow your feet and offer kindness to those in passing and guidance to those who stay, and
Yeah.
you know
Well,
detach and let go and realize there is no ownership. It's
I think it was. I think it was just Starcon who made a comment. I don't know whether it was this morning or yesterday. I can't remember. But I put 2 articles up about Dyson spheres.
mm-hmm.
A simplistic approach so that people could have an introduction,
Mm-hmm.
and then something underneath a little more
Yeah.
complex and a little more sciencey. And what he actually came back and said was, I wish everything would have been taught that way at school because I'd have attended much more classes.
Mm-hmm.
And what he didn't realise was one of them was Alan Watts.
Oh, wow.
And it kind of says everything. Delivery of
Mm-hmm.
said wisdom or knowledge is as
Yeah,
important as the wisdom or knowledge itself,
it
because
is.
if it sounds monotonous and just droning on,
Mm-hmm.
people lose total track.
Yeah.
And Alan Watts's delivery was just, well, it was spot on.
Yeah, I mean, he connected with you.
He's up there with Richard Attenborough, right? David
Yeah,
Attenborough.
sure.
Yeah.
Hmm.
Yeah. Great stuff.
It is. It is.
So, what have your musings been, sir? Because you asked me about what my musings have been this week.
Yeah.
So, what gives?
What gives?
Yeah.
The music, man. Like I was telling you just before we got on, is like the music of just all of it, the universe. It's like you can draw a bow across it and it'll hum.
Yeah.
And the
Run
hum
your
is in,
fingers across the sky and it sounds like a harp.
right, right.
Yeah.
Well, I've kind of done a couple of little tangents here on music train, but like I had some writings I did the other day, and it was inspired for like a Sunday service, and then Sunday came along, and I realized part of the message was, allowing for self-service, and I took the day and the next to do just that, because I mean, hell, it's needed sometimes, and
Yeah.
another ode back to Third Eye. She's how she sees God, having that relationship with God equals good orderly direction. you know I love that, because it's like, yes, and that was like dwelling with me, And then
A
the
nice
kind
way of saying moral compass.
right, we
Really
talked about,
nice.
yes, and just having one, but at the same time, it's like having that connection, that relationship, that growth into that spiritual nourishment, and that tapping into that God code. If we're looking at the DNA side of it, just mysticism, as it were, in a whole nutshell, is not just having, but able to gratefully follow that good orderly direction, because sometimes we can see it. Many of us, and it's it's like that golden string floating in the air, and you like, if you just tug it, you'll be snatched into like just everything that's meant for you. But you see it and you're like, something's buzzing around, and you swat it
You
away like a do it.
can I just interject?
Yeah,
So I've got a top of your left arm.
this one.
Yeah.
This one.
How is it?
This one.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, yesterday it was pretty stiff. Like, part of my workout was to help release a lot. I did a lot of movement
Yeah.
everywhere, so it's
Well, because I'm seeing a shadow, a block there, and then if you go over to your opposite upper shoulder by your neck, there,
yeah.
what's wrong there?
I mean, that's the world, I guess.
Weighing heavy on your shoulders.
At times, yeah, and see, that's part of today is seek not ownership, and that ownership becomes that weight of the world, as it were. It's
Yeah, I'm afraid so. They
yeah,
say that ignorance is bliss.
right, and
You know?
I've always had trouble with it. I'm fascinated by it too, but I've because I do believe that bliss can be found in that unknowing,
Yeah.
but that takes realizing that you know nothing. I know nothing, and in that unknowing I have bliss. All
Yes.
right, so but the adage of ignorance is bliss is like that sense where, hey, um
The less I know, the less I worry about.
right, and that's fine too, and that is not a harmful mentality, I would say, because I mean, it can offer growth. It's the gentle gardener, much as
Yeah.
it's not needed, because I have planted the seeds for my sustenance and my growth, and Lord wills it. All great,
Yeah.
grand, and wonderful. It's the willful ignorance. It's you're you're beckoned to ask for the new age technology, or like the heart on that whole new age wave of like, yeah, that's just offering the same old knowledge in a new spin, but
Yeah.
they're like, that's just new age. They'll blow it off because, well, it wasn't given to their taste, you know and I was like, that's the willful ignorance that I see. It's because the unacceptance of the happenings, instead of taking the bad side and saying, "Oh, it's happening to me," it's like, just doing away with it and acting like it never happened.
Yeah.
And yeah, so
Yeah. Yeah. I get
yeah,
you.
yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. There is so this shoulder, um, if it makes sense. Like, the wing on this side is like sore.
Yeah.
So this arm, I slept on it funny, I could tell, but it's more like being pulled down and back. You know?
Yeah.
Yeah, and that's that.
Yeah.
That's
Well,
that.
that's because you've got a knot,
Yeah,
which I've just seen. Right. Yeah.
yeah,
Right where you just touched. Go back
yeah,
a little bit.
yeah. Like,
Right where you just touched. About there. Yeah.
yeah.
Right on your shoulders
It's,
because you've got a knot there.
yeah. See, I had Amelia put some elbows in me the other day. It was great.
Yeah.
It's like I drew a little diagram in my notebook, and I was like, "Does this make sense?" She said, "Yeah." I was like,
Yeah.
"All right." So hard
Go do
spot.
your magic.
Yeah, I was like, "Now just do that on me."
Mm.
So yeah, I would equate that to traveling yesterday. I I kind of just
I can so see that knot. It's
yeah, it's
unbelievable.
well, I mean, it's that like overindulgence on flying, I would say, you know, and how a limp wing, as it were, it's kind of instead of being furled up and tucked away, it's just kind of hanging there.
Mm. Sorry, I
Yeah.
picked on you like
Oh
that.
no, not at all. I don't take it as picking. Hey, it's cool to have the acknowledgement, but
It
yeah,
was just a distinct.
yeah,
I noticed it. It was
yeah.
distinct.
Well, it jumps my head forward too. It very
Yeah,
much so that Atlas. Yeah. So
yeah, I'm with you.
yeah, but I
I know
mean,
what you. I know what you're holding up.
well, I mean, it's yeah, and it's funny. Me and the lady we've watched this new show. They've readapted the Winx Club thing from old cartoon, and it's
I don't think I've ever been aware of it.
it's the fairy magic school basically. You know how all back in the day they had cartoons and every magical being had a school they went to and all that.
Is it like Bewitched?
In a way, but it's fairies instead, and it's everybody has met. Well, anyways, they did a new one, and they're really elaborating on the individual powers of the fairies instead of being a cartoon and kind of making it more playful and
Yeah.
you know, that it's more in depth and nitty gritty. And one of them's an empath. She's like a mind fairy, but she processes as an empath, and it's very much so telling of those highly sensitive people that are empaths, or there's a fluidity to all of it, yes, and essentially that it's it's the manifested weight,
Crazy,
I
man.
would say. Yeah, you know it's a
I,
beautiful thing because, well, I bear it at the same time.
yeah, yeah.
I do shuck it off at times. You got to spread the wings and allow yourself that.
I said
Yeah,
yesterday on my live that I'm in pain 24/7, but look how I'll wear it.
yeah. I mean, exactly.
Smile.
You know,
It's all,
exactly.
it's all going on, but
Yeah,
it doesn't mean to say it has to change this
yeah. Precisely. Like,
or this.
and yeah, it is from this that the rest is you know mitigated.
Mm.
Yeah.
So I think that's Dyson spheres covered, don't you?
I think so. I mean, and it gets all the way back to the cube and a tesseract, being the fourth dimensional shape that we can imagine and perceive,
A
and
cube
then
within a cube, isn't it?
right, and you can only see it through its shadow, which is funny because it gets that's a good tangent into the rest is, or the matrices, as it were, not matrix, but the matrices, like the lattice work, but how they're all interconnected is like matrices. I guess that's
Okay.
the right word. I really don't know. My vocabulary at times is strange because it's yeah. I
Yeah,
think
mine
I
gets
have the right
strange.
word. Yeah, I'm good at making up words too.
I
That's
love
strange.
made up words.
I mean, it sounds right, feels right. That's what it is. Looks like a duck.
Yeah. Yeah, it's all good. What we got people putting down? We haven't took much notice of the chat. Have you been watching
Yeah,
that?
sorry, we were off on tangents and
Yeah.
wanderings.
Yeah, it could be emotion trapped in you. That's why that knot's there.
I mean, it is here, so it's gonna be, the merger of these chakras, and it's part
But
of,
I can't.
throat and the expanse of heart and third eye. So, but I mean, I just had some things, had good things, but it's spiritual detox. Yeah, that's what's happening. Is so
It
you're
is what's
seeing it.
happening.
Yeah, you're seeing it, and I'm sorry if I'm bringing it and feeling it. It's
No,
present, but okay, because I didn't
no,
want
not at
that to
all.
be a hindrance.
I'm
It's
just seeing
yeah,
it so
yeah.
strongly.
Well, I mean that's what's happening. I had my attunement, so yeah, it's yeah, so part of it.
Cool.
It's good things, but yes, essentially, quit beating around the bush. That's what exactly is happening.
Gaines has just
Yeah.
said, "Can I paste something in here that will blow your mind, chap?"
Um.
That's
Yeah.
possibly got to be worth having.
Sure. And if it doesn't come through, I'll get it and post it because by all means.
John Doe, Thomas, do you know me?
John Doe. Hmm. I do. I know. I drink and I know things. And
Okay.
I know John Doe is an unknown man.
Oh yes.
So
That
that should be
question
the
goes
answer.
for anyone actually.
That means there's the answer.
Mm.
Yeah.
Yes.
Don't think it's really
In-
a question. Is it a
Interesting.
question or is it an observation?
Mm. I don't know what this is about, to be honest.
Oh well. I can have many knowings, but there's no knowing to which one is actually known and true.
John Doe. John Doe, I feel like I know you.
Well, let's see. Ah, no, I appreciate it. I'm just now getting back to the chat as well. Gaines, do you got what you wanted to send?
Say again, sir?
I said,
Oh, Gaines. Yeah.
yeah.
Yeah, what you got, brother? Keen to see that. Yeah, I think I know John Doe.
One second. Speaking of wings, though, there's a mutual uh, acknowledgement that was shared on another chat group that a guy tapped into his dragon energy, at
Yeah.
the manifested kundalini and how it, becomes a dragon and how, they're perceived as destruction, but they also embellish creation. So, that is essentially the kundalini. And he was talking about how his wings manifested, and I was like, oh yeah, that's good stuff. So I ended up, yeah. So I shared with him a little bit, and yeah, it's cool. Just those types of conversations, like the off the wall, nobody has. It's those that make the world go round. I think because you're
Yeah,
breaking the barrier. Like
you've got to be careful who you tell things like that these days.
yeah, I mean, but it's beautiful to see um, it happening.
Yeah, John Doe. I do. I know you.
Uh, let's see. One
Say
second.
no more.
Yeah, in passing, it's travelers.
Right.
Uh, so my bad. That was like a side tangent, and then I got off of it and lost it. To like incorporating that you said it earlier, like the pillar, the tree, and holding up the crown.
Yeah.
That's manifesting and has been manifesting now, and then it sprouts into further in growth essentially in energy and aura. So like you were working with Cher, and she's had that growth, and now it's acknowledgement, and it sprouts a beautiful thing.
Well,
And
at first, you see, it was noticeable for Cher because I said to her that when I when I first got back in touch with her, her auric field was very tight to her, like it was trying to show itself as energy, but I could see she was in turmoil.
mm,
And sure enough, she was. And to actually look across to her,
yeah,
I don't know whether it was yesterday or the day before or what, but look across and tell her that her energy field is like 3, 4, 5 inches out. And then her auric field after that, it goes right out to like 2 feet.
yeah,
Um, oh, yeah, it was a pleasure to see. It was a pleasure to witness because I just saw it's literally when somebody says they've really come out of themselves.
yeah, because
Yeah, and she
yeah,
has.
it's very much so turning that proverbial mind's eye literally inward, but you're looking outward in a way. Yeah,
Right.
and
Yeah. Very attached to the meat suit.
yeah,
That's
yeah,
all. But now she's detached so many things. It's just oozing from her, and I can see her having eureka moments all the time, and the love that she's surrounded by is being noticed.
yes, yeah.
Um,
She
it's
has.
all really great, positive stuff. It's lovely.
It is. That's the big shift in growth I've been seeing too with all of it. And seeking not into that ownership. It's not for us to claim or you know lay conquest to, or even take up in arms for that. That's bad terminology for right now, but
Yeah,
in the sense it's like upholding that world essentially too.
yeah,
Don't
the Atlas thing. Yeah,
that's not ownership. You can have a responsibility and duty without taking ownership, as it were.
but it's kind of not a burden either, is
Right,
it?
right. It's more of a
I'm happy to do this.
right. Make it a service instead of an
Yeah,
obligation. There we go.
yeah,
Sever negative obligations. That would be another good anagram for it. you
you
know
got it.
So it's, yeah, the snow is much like the adage of the rain. Master Yin Shin. I can't. I love this dude. He's a Shaolin master, and he came on TED Talks a couple of times, and he talks about his philosophy to life and Buddhism and his practice and his way, and it's talking about travelers and the obstacles we face along the way, and how we'll often take the stories of travelers over our own experience. Like, much like Alan Watts says, sometimes the party is not enjoyable unless it's read about the next day.
Yeah.
And like, that's the mentality that society has so farly implanted now that we've had time to actually self-reflect in many occasions and ways. Maybe it's due to whatever circumstances were unfairly, or whatever. Yeah, yeah, how things have played out on the different paradigms of
Yep.
society in all ways has led to growth and self-reflection. And I see it becoming that gentle gardener, as it were. It has produced that, and us, we are the caretakers, the gentle gardeners on a different field, being not different, but
The recovery team.
right, oh, okay, the buds are coming through now. It needs trimming, it needs
Yeah.
cultivating,
Yeah.
good
Fill
to
a hole
go.
here.
Yeah, right,
Patch something there. Yeah.
bonsai tree trimming, or hell, take a bud tree and get
Yeah.
it right and cultivated. So hey, harvesting, all this good things. Now these
That's
are
it.
the words we've heard over the last 5-6 years, and it's been this powerful movement, and it's activated, and it's awakening folks. And like I talked about the other day with that really weird lightning storm that kind of came through, it had messages, it offered that whimsy and stuff. So that was like light code activations, and I'm seeing there's more and more sparkles in the stream, as it
Oh
were.
yeah.
All right, so
Oh yes.
uh, see, it's easier to talk because I mean I know you see these things much like I do, but essentially, folks, in the chat,
Yeah.
it is. In the cartoons, how that look like good cooking came out of the kitchen, and it was this little trail of smoke, and it'd wrap around the figure's head and like
The
hold them by
Bisco
the nose.
kits.
Right, and then just they would glide away.
Yeah.
That okay, that's the energy in the universe. It does that, and
Yeah.
it flows in a way that's much like smoke and water combined. It's this liquid,
This
not liquid,
other
ether, not
kind of
ether.
something. Well,
Right.
plasma probably.
Well, I mean, I think plasma would be a form of it, but
Yeah.
it's beyond
Divine
that
energy.
too. Right. It is that love. That
Yeah.
how we see auras as colors.
And
It's
I
what
think it's the
creates
divine
all of that.
feminine energy.
It's creation. It is the tendrils of creation,
Yeah.
and in those tendrils, I see more and more sparkles and light. And what I mean by that is that's like new birthings of that divinity
Yeah.
happening so
Yeah.
much, and it
Pops of loveliness going on.
oh right, and that's what I get at when I say like I watch the ripples or something. It's because it is on this grand cosmic ocean. At times there's ripples.
Yeah,
Instead
it
of
does. And it's beautiful.
it is instead of the sparkles, it's ripples, and that's not necessarily the birth of a negative thing. It's just a shift in that perspective, because it alters the surface tension. The tension became too great, so it
Yeah.
needed, yeah, and
Something to break it. Yeah.
right, and
Hi,
then
Terry C.
yeah,
Sorry,
so
mate. Just saying hello to Terry C. She's put hi Thomas, hi and Tricky.
Hey Terry, how are you? I mean, in all of this, it can be inculcated in the smallest of words and the smallest of observations.
Yeah.
And then, I think where the gap is, more folks don't look at the big macro size of it, not just, some
Oh
do
no, it's
on different,
very blinkered.
very tunneled. And hey, we could be inside the tunnel of a connection. We're transitioning. Well, that is the birthing process, right?
Right.
Transitioning from one ring to the next. And oof,
Yeah.
man, see, happen,
Oh,
right?
that right now,
Right.
there's never been more of a time in human in modern human structuring that's been more at question, because for decades we have simply believed that
Mm-hmm.
this is how it is. But
Yeah.
in the last decade, let's say, human spirituality has become on such a level
Mm-hmm.
that the cracks and the flaws are starting to appear in all of the stories that we've been taught in history
Right.
and so on, and what we believe to be the real world.
Mm-hmm.
And suddenly, here we all are,
Yeah.
all red pilled and ready to go.
Well, I think it leads back to Tolkien too. He was a masterful storyteller,
Oh, yeah.
and the
Beyond a shadow of a
parallels.
doubt.
I mean, yeah, and just masterful. Like,
Yeah.
I just yes, and his Odes. The story of the ring and Sauron's first fall. It became. Truth became legend. Legend became or myth, then legend, then stories, and then eventually it faded away, and that's how religion has played out, I would say.
Undoubtedly.
And it's very iconic to this very same story on biblical terms, on Babylonian terms, on Egyptian terms. And these are repeat stories. It's we always complain about reruns, like I was saying earlier. They're readapting things in a more modern way, but it's the same story, different perspective.
Nothing new under the sun.
Right, right. So that would be the same as the sphere. If you were to actually go around one of those arches, you're passing through the same thing, and I mean, you can go places, but yeah, so
Same thing.
yeah,
Yeah.
all right.
Yeah.
So, that
Oh,
one picture we
so
saw, it was like a marble, and the poles, and it was like a marble on a string. It reminds me of like the old doctor office toys, the roller coaster, but it's just marbles and blocks that.
yes.
So they've built playthings of the plaything.
Mm-hmm.
So and like that is there's fractal nature in everything from one perspective, one journey. I mean, it can all be inculcated as what is because it all is, in the grand
Well,
pool of everything. Yeah.
what they've done is similar to a customization. So what happens first is say for me, for instance, I buy a motorcycle, and that motorcycle is transport and it's a vehicle and it will take you places. But now I'm going to decorate every single part of that bike
Mm-hmm.
absolutely intricately down to my own taste. So I'm going to have all the engine casing engraved how I want it. That's society now.
Mm-hmm.
You are just part of the machine, but you are highly decorating yourself in all this materialness.
Yes.
but you're still just part of the machine that's a vehicle that takes you places. So that's where we are now. We must remember that if we were born to be a brake caliper, be a brake caliper.
Right.
You were born to be handlebars, be them.
Yes.
And what we're finding is many headlights are joining right now because they burn the brightest.
Yeah. And what you said it though, it's like the soul contract, you know. It's funny how this talk is, I just embellishing on, not embellishing, but yeah, it is embellishing a little bit, because I mean you got to add that flair to it.
Embellish away. If it's good stuff, embellish it. Go for it.
Because you can't enough. At some point, even all the embellishment does not define the parameters of that divine connection of everything. Language doesn't exist for that. It's its own language, and when you know it and you feel it and you have it, it's there. And that's the sparkles. More and more folks getting that, and then it's beautiful. It's a beautiful thing. Where is it? There we
go. I think we're coming back now from the peak that was
material. Yeah.
That was material on a disgusting level.
Right. Basically what the Atlanteans strove for. Because before that it was the natural spiritual of it. And then it got turned into a greed thing and went up like this. We've been on this downfall.
Material wealth.
And this one is making a pivot point, and it's about to slingshot up to that new age of better, you know.
It's
being back in tandem with that.
It's that rush at the bottom of that first hill just before you go through a loop. And nothing can that's the point at which they take your picture. Because they know that's the key moment. And we're on March the 3rd, guys, and tomorrow is March 4th. March 4th.
Yeah.
And I've got a feeling that tomorrow is that pivotal moment, that point where the ride takes your photo and you're all excited.
I feel good things from it. But I've been feeling good things. It's like, even though there's weight at times, and you know, my own space, the grandeur space and love that is just coalescing in this
common area
spiral, man. And I say spiral a lot, and that's depicted in a negative way at times.
Or the 3.5 spirals that go up.
That is the structure of everything, almost on that physical perceptive level. It spirals, and that side tangent back to the Dyson sphere. They talked about finding how in deep space, just within our own galaxy, it is a supermassive black hole, and it seems to be one in like every few pockets, you know, but there's a big one, and what it has trouble pulling in those little blank spots, a new one's formed because it picks up the slack, and it's like a big gear mechanism almost in spiral. So like I don't want to frighten. Designed in cosmic wonder. Everything is, you know, and that was God's intention, was creation on a profoundly engineered level, and let it work, you know, and essentially a plaything. But at the same time, like, you don't make one of those without utilizing it, you know, bringing it to its fullest potential,
its purpose.
Right. And we're all part of that system, as well as creations and creators within that system. It's
Oh yes.
because of being of a fractal nature, that's imprinted on us. So we too are not only facilitating our purpose, but creating things that serve purpose and all of that. So sorry, that was a fractal tangent. The
Yeah.
black holes.
Yeah. Yeah.
It, the
Yeah.
black
I don't
holes,
want to
where
frighten
this came
anybody.
through, how they spiral and pull things in. Well, the black hole it shoots out the other way. The event horizon, I feel like, is what we're
Yes.
at. That's
Yes.
that loop.
Yes.
We are crossing the event horizon, and now
Absolutely.
we're
The
about
point
to
of no
be just
return.
blown through into this new Earth. New,
Whatever this
yeah.
is.
I mean, it,
Yeah.
and it's propelled and accelerated by this massive push of love and conscious and aware consciousness, like awareness, and just
Yeah.
it's filled with so much more light and love and heart and soul. It that's the arrow that was flung so long ago, and it's like, yeah, it had to pass through some briars and a little
Yeah.
bit of cloud, the fog on the end of the field, but it's made its mark. And that moment where it is on track and it's soon to hit, that's and those last few seconds, there is no doubt, there is no, it is just fulfillment, as it were.
Yeah.
I don't know if anybody knows about archery, but there's like this small gap in between you hearing that thunk on that target and just before it makes it there, because you see it, you feel it, and it's there, and you launch it, and
Yeah.
there is that suspense. After you cross that suspense, much like crossing the veil, there's like this smallest gap of knowing that it's true, and it hits and it resonates. And it's like boom. It's a profound feeling. It's something that you can take in a macro sense and make physical, because it's a physical practice. So
Yeah.
that would just be a good way of me explaining it, essentially.
Absolutely.
I mean,
Absolutely.
I, yeah, that's kind of a more of a reminiscence, and it's inculcated in the bigger scheme of things too.
Yeah. Is there anything? Is there anything anybody out there wants us to talk
Yeah, I was
about while
supposed to
we're?
say we need some input from we
Yeah.
have neglected the input. Shame
Come
on
on.
me.
We have. We have. I miss you, Gaines.
Yeah.
Miss you being around, bro. Um,
Oh.
yeah, is there nobody?
Let's see. I'm still on the same task I was doing just a little bit ago. Haven't gotten far.
I think they've all chilled out and gone to sleep.
They might have. Did we
I
start
put
the
on
droning? We started the droning, didn't we?
a chill out mix, a really nice chill out mix before, and I know a couple of them were getting into it, but they're probably fast asleep. I won't
Might
blame them
be.
if they were.
Hey.
Any thoughts on the March 4th? Well, we've just had a little bit of a knock between
Yeah.
on that. No,
Small.
I don't want to. I don't want to. I don't want to imagine myself knowing what beauties there could be.
Mm-hmm.
But I feel that there are beauties coming, Eric. Definitely.
Mm-hmm. Well, it's another little synchronicity. My little stoic phrases for the day. It's This one's from Chrysippus. Uh, the universe itself is God, and the universal outpouring of its soul. So,
Perfect.
yeah,
Perfect.
there's your Dyson spirits off. It's God, and He loves you.
It's Metatron. We are the pieces of a singular consciousness trying better to understand itself.
I'll be right back. I need some more water and feel like
okay, dude.
Cards.
Yeah, no problem. Yeah. So for me, guys, March the 4th is not only pivotal in numerology, but it's also pivotal for especially you guys over in the States, because it marks so many occasions. It is, I believe that it was formerly a specific day, was it for presidential? It's the original day for, well, they just done for Biden, what do they call it, inaugurations. And then 4th of March is 17 days after President's Day. And
numbers.
I believe there's more. I believe there's more history behind March 4th. And have you seen the Q post that was put up on our Telegram earlier?
No, I didn't.
There's a specific Q post that mentions March the 4th, and it's in a red box along with the word trap.
Well, I mean, that would make sense too. Being like, it's a wild tangent. I don't want to be the Debbie Downer, but I like tangents and altered perspectives.
Yeah. What do you think that thing is at the front of the White House? That structure?
They said it was the media tower, for the ceremony or whatever, but now it's like expanded and being something else. So
right.
I haven't paid much mind to it. I could look at it as them trying to do a fortification in a way, and that would make sense too. But it doesn't seem too strategic.
No.
Like,
seems out of place.
Right. It's like, everything up to this point has been massively methodical, and now it's kind of like there's glitches in it, but too apparent in a way.
Yeah, very obvious.
The stage is being set, but it's like, what for? Like, we already know what the play is, So yeah, it's a little weird, to be honest, but also you got to think it's its own sovereign place, so they could just be battening down the hatches for their own sake.
Could be. Yeah. You notice in the Trump speech the other day, the lack of gold braid around the flags at the back?
Yeah, because it's no longer. Yeah, that's yes. That's
yes.
And there's he's still got some backing from the good old boys too. So.
Oh yeah.
Like it's going to be interesting. That's for sure.
I was having to
hope we're not like on a Hunger Games timeline.
Oh man.
Because so like the altered perspective is it's never fun to look at, but so the light code activations and all the light workers and warriors coming forth, pulling in resources and making more of and the whole soul tribe, gathering. We've seen it a bunch of times in different draws and such.
You've seen this big worldwide thing they're doing on the 20th of March.
Yeah. It's gonna be awesome.
I'm glad to see that.
I am too. I think it's righteous.
Yeah.
And and we've talked that no matter what we know, they know,
Yeah.
right? And that it's I see a lot of like the art of war playing out in many different maneuvers and
And me.
strategies.
And me.
Like I put it on the desk and I'll lay it out and I analyze it, and you know I'm appreciative in an observer standpoint, because it's like, okay, this has been well
You
done.
admire it. You
Right,
admire it.
right. Yeah, it's a twisted way of looking at it. But at the same time, say that admiration came to fruition. Like the outcome it's based on a foreseen outcome, right?
Yeah.
And in a way, all outcomes are foretold, right?
Right.
And that kind of gets back to the destiny thing. Now, there's various ways they can play out. They can play out in the sense of duality, or they can play out in the sense of like, you know, the black hole thing, eventually until it critical mass and explodes out into the growth of
The other
its,
side.
yeah, into its new existence. And I feel like a lot of people are still looking towards that perspective, like of amassing to harvest, and or because those terms have been dangled around many a times and many a places for different reasons. Either the gathering of the light workers and harvesting their power, or essentially a harvest into the biblical way, or so all these different tangents, they have just as much merit, you know
Yeah.
right? Yeah, like, and that's why, as that place of observation kind of looks in an admiring view of all of it, because it is intricately woven.
Oh,
I mean, just
incredibly.
and I look at it, and pardon the pun, but in a Jenga style arrangement, but in like fourth dimensional, as it were. Like, oh wow, you've done phenomenal building all of this.
Yeah.
But let me just pull this one little square, and it's like, oh no.
Oh,
I,
yeah.
that's how I see it though, because it must be like someone asked, like, is this true? Is it like is all was that fake with the faux inauguration or whatever? It's all of it. I was like, it has to come to fruition
Yeah.
because those vibrations were pulsed, were emanated. Just like I was saying before with the web of energy that attaches to us, it vibrates. And if the vibration comes back and it's not within your source vibration range, it
Yeah.
needs to be clipped. So that is what's happening. Much like, the crescendo, now it's the time of the reshot into the loop kind of
Yeah.
thing. So that is that vibration coming back. We're on the down, the connection. Now it's hitting back to source saying, whoa, hey, we need to clip that. And this
Yeah.
massive metronomic paradox that has been crafted and well thought out and manufactured to here and now is that Jenga set, and that block is being removed. Much like decalcifying the pineal gland is like pulling the pistachio shell off of it without
Yeah.
cracking it. It's like, you're not cracking it, you're instantly removing it, but it takes effort. So yeah,
Yeah.
that and a weird metaphor, but yeah,
Again, birth.
yeah, I mean, yes,
Just from
creative.
an egg, really.
Yes, yeah.
Hi,
Man,
Jenna.
hello, hello. Jenna's in the house.
Yep.
Um, hmm. I
So,
have cards out.
yeah, I've got that. I've got that feeling that I've been having.
Mm-hmm.
I'm growing comfortable with it because I realise it's a part of something new.
Yeah.
It's manifesting itself very, very openly now. It's not something I'm having to concentrate on.
Gotcha.
And I can
Yeah.
feel it constantly, and it's right here. It's right there. And it still feels like a knuckle on a crack, you know,
Yeah. Yeah.
when you
It's
crack your
kind of like
knuckles.
that. Yeah, I do. It's terrible. That's yeah.
Yeah,
So
that's how it feels.
yes, yes, yes is the word. Two,
Yes.
3, or 4.
4
All right.
for the 4th of March.
Cool.
So if you'd have said 3, I could have said 3 for March. But but yeah, 4.
All right. So since today ends up being like pillars, it's funny. I divided the deck into 4 things, but I had 2 cards left,
It
and
decided for you.
yeah, and it's come together and details. So it's like,
Yeah.
yeah, yeah. All right,
All this stuff that we've been working with is all coming
together.
together.
Yeah, yeah.
That's
So
what an awesome pull.
I mean, right? You know,
Yeah. Can't argue with that.
can't. No, you really can't. It's one of those things.
Yeah, I can feel it radiating now. I've really
Yeah,
got to, it's all up my back.
right. Yeah.
Woo.
Hold on 1 second. I'm trying. Yeah. Oh,
And I'll tell you
oh, that's cool.
something. I'll tell you something. It's like my body is trying to eject a nothing bubble,
Yeah.
like something that isn't there. It's like my throat is
The
trying to
block.
eject
Yeah.
this badness from me. I don't know what's going on, but it feels really like I got something stuck in my throat, but I haven't.
Well, not to get too personal, but the throat chakra is the inner truths and the paradigms and the beliefs and the basically existential dissonance.
Yes,
That's what blocks all of this and creates those.
electric blue.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Oh man, we have
yeah,
a beautiful draw today. Just
yeah.
yeah. All right. So the message is in the details and coming together, and that's
Mm-hmm.
43 and 8. 4 and 3 is 7. 8 is all that together equals 15. 1 and 5, that's 6, and that's spiral. So it's the come together is the spiraling.
Is the yeah,
Oh, so cool. All right, so our perception and our need and basically our circumstance is the compass. Back to the compass.
which comes up all the time with me.
Yes, our way and the way that we're going is
And if the gentle gardener comes up again, I'm going to eat my hat.
not yet, not yet. This one's actually it's still on the same, but it's cool. We'll get there. So our expectations are flying,
Right.
and that was the one that resonated with Nick so well. So yes, we by our compass and that spiral nature, we're flying forward.
Flying.
Yes, and the ground underneath it's like a spiraling hedge maze, and you're
But
flying
don't
over.
worry, everybody, because the very fact that a compass is there means we are reading very
Yeah.
well where we are going.
Right. Right. Our hindrance, which is really powerful, and adds is 4 and 8 adds up to 12. So yeah, is the wishing well.
Okay.
All right. So this is our hindrance. It's you know, look at the lady. She's cast her wish, but look at all of the wishes and the ethereal fool on top. We're casting ourselves into this wishful thinking, and that
Yeah.
becomes a condition, a paradigm, and
Yeah.
like she's actually how this is a hindrance is the paradigm itself of the wishing well is granting it. No, you have that thought, go ahead and manifest it and make it real, which is beautiful because the unexpected help comes in the form of the magical map shifter.
Tell me
you
about the card.
you control these, and it's kind of like the pillars. Everything's in like the pillars today because so our hindrance being the wishing well, how it can be a hindrance is releasing our faith to the unfounded, as it were, and not realizing that we can have faith in ourselves and in the process and in our own connection to source and to God and back to that compass, that good orderly direction. Yes. So the only way that is a hindrance is if we do not choose to walk away as she is and relinquishing that hold, that ownership over that magic wishing well, as it were.
Yeah.
Wishes can come true, but that was in due time and divine
I don't need it
information.
right now.
Right, right. So yes. And then into our unexpected help is the magical map shifter, which is a really cool card. And he's holding a compass, the Pegasus, much like the flying star. So all our entire draws are basically inculcated in this one card, which is really cool. That's wicked cool.
That's
So
awesome, man.
yeah, it is. I mean, and he essentially is that inner power, inner self, inner will to forge
Yeah.
ahead. Like even though there is a
Make
design
it
and a
so.
necessity, yeah, there's design and destiny to things. It is through our choice and our will and how we mold ourselves and paradigm and the circumstances. So yes, that is
Sorry, sorry about the Picard quote.
the what?
The Jean-Luc Picard quote.
Oh no no no!
Make it so.
Make it so. I
Make it
love
so,
I
number
love
one.
Captain Picard. He's probably my favorite, to be honest. That's just cause that was more
I
prevalent.
liked the Voyager episode. I did
Yeah,
the whole Voyager thing.
yeah.
I thought that was good.
I liked Voyager a lot too. I'm actually still watching it, but
And we should take more notice of Star Trek because the main sort of uh, how can I put it? Uh, unchained protagonist in the whole thing was Q.
right,
He could appear anywhere at any time.
right, and that was basically the quantum mindscape of everything. It where we're heading is that.
Yeah,
Yeah. So
yeah,
it's like beckoning us, and then that's the nudge. Now we have this big Q movement thing, and that's that nudge saying, "Hey, we are in Star Trek days now. We're gonna be living it," kind of thing. It's no
that's
longer
right. That's
no
right.
longer just a film, but it
Everybody
is
will have
life.
enough.
Right. Stop hiding from it and acknowledge it. And, yeah.
Yeah, the calm before the storm, as just Starcon's put.
Yeah. Well. Yeah. Well, we've had the storm. I think it's the realization of cleansing that comes after the storm,
But what
because
if we're just in the eye and
oh, that
everything seems
too.
so peaceful?
Yeah, the very very much so, and which would kind of allude to in that piece, you have the realization and what can be renewed and rebuilt. But, in that process of making that action, comes the back half that's
Oh yeah,
needed to kind of submit that action. It's more
yeah,
often not in our manifestation how we do it. Instead of taking the quantum approach and realizing that we are it, we condition ourselves to it. And
yes.
and when that happens, you're instantly accosted by the universe in a way saying, if you have conditions, I will have parameters.
But you're back in
And
the meat suit.
right. And well, saying like, I'm not gonna have a bad day
You've just
unless I
reaffirmed
get
it.
my, well, yeah, like, or
Yeah,
unless I
yeah,
have my coffee,
yeah.
and you don't get your coffee, and then you
What a
start having,
constraint to put on yourself.
right. And in that strain, the universe instantly will start throwing things as obstacles, but between you and your coffee, because you're saying you need something to affirm something else when that affirmation is very well present.
Absolutely, absolutely. You put if you are limited,
Hmm.
you'll quite often find that you're only limited by what you are actually doing.
Right.
It's a strange thing. It's kind of, to put it in a simpler way, you may have been looking at, say, an equation or trying to find a word on a crossword for some time. And if you just actually step away and go and say, I don't know, make yourself a cuppa and
Hmm.
come back, how often do you just look at it and go, oh, so easy?
Yeah.
Because you've had a moment to
Just
rest your mind
to
from,
be still. Yeah.
yeah, the complexity of it all. And when you come back, fresh new perspective, which is, I think, what we are attaining as human beings now, a fresh new perspective.
Yeah. I pulled our assistants from other realms in this.
Yeah, yeah, and they're answering.
They are answering. That's pretty good. So the knocking of the arrow is
Yeah,
the dragon's duel,
okay,
and that's just kind of the choice, inner conflict, morality, the conscious choice, the things that the compass has pointed out in our journey and our perspective. You know, this is the stepping stone that allowed for all of that, essentially. It's
any
not.
idea, Thomas, when this Mercury retrograde peters out?
Honestly, I don't. I want to say it's gonna be like in the next couple of weeks, like kind of late March.
Okay,
Um, but I very well could be wrong. I honestly haven't just kept up with it
I'll be keen to see how everything feels at that sort of
after.
time.
Right.
Yeah,
It's definitely gonna be that burst forth kind of
yeah,
energy.
yeah,
It's
a
like
rush.
the slingshot effect, essentially, because like as it's exiting, we're gonna
All
be
catches up with itself again.
right,
Yeah,
right, and then yeah, I would see it. Well, much like how we've depicted the roller coaster, or you know the spiral nature, these dragons, that conflict, that morality, that duality of our existence, conscious choice.
yeah,
It's that shift into where that tandem is not necessarily needed, because what is conscious is very much real, and it doesn't take choice of consciousness, if that makes sense. Like,
yeah. It does.
yeah,
Yeah,
so
absolutely.
that's the quantum field, where it becomes, you know,
You're tapping into
telepathy
things you're not quite seeing, but they're right there.
right there. Exactly. And, and you can bring them forth as well, much like you can bring yourself into the being of whatever, you
Yeah,
know. So it's no longer that angel and demon on the shoulder, that those blocks are being washed away, as it were, and those kind of ethereal wings are allowing us to
Spread.
spread and soar higher. Yes.
Yeah. Wow, brother.
Yeah. So our another journeyman along the way was the Desert Prince, but he approached us as a challenger.
Okay.
So like
upside down, yeah.
right, and
what's his purpose?
He's full of survival and false promises, and that's very indicative of how this arrow has flown, into coming together. There's been, the reveal of, leadership and false promise, and taking ownership because it is being led, or led or whatever. So uh, this is still a new deck, so you'll have to bear with me. I do apologize. Don't
I
be
will bear
fooled by
with
the
you.
beauty. Yes.
I will bear with you.
Oh, I think it's basically saying like,
not on camera, but
yeah, well,
you know.
hey, well,
Oh, for the want of a gif.
yes,
Yeah.
Yeah, good chuckle.
I find myself doing that all the time now, even when I'm out. I think, oh, for the want of a gif right now.
Yeah, right. It's perfect because, like, yes, yeah,
yeah.
Mm-hmm. Full of bean moment. But yeah, so he's kind of that beautiful, rough around the edges. The diamond in the rough
I'm with you.
Depicted as the beauty. He comes across in a like royal-esque manner and has that figure and imposes kind of that leadership quality, but he's salting for survival, and you know offers false promises to maintain that survival. To be aware of that traveler along the way.
I understand. Yes. That.
So as we journey, we come to a moral conflict, and as we launch forth, be aware of the beautiful, princely manner, but is full of false promises.
Right, gotcha. Yeah.
And then we had the resting tree, but is also a challenger because in the flight, much like we were talking just before, this is beckoning stillness and patience. So the reason why this would be our challenger is we would come to our journey, say like a bog, and we must cross it in this flight of our arrow, but it's you know kind of a quarrel within us, like, but along the way through this bog, we're beckoned like by a Yoda or something. Like, stay a while and listen, because
I've just realized you're telling this whole thing just like a Tolkien story.
Well, I mean, it feels like one. It's I was actually kind of thinking like the Labyrinth, and
well, I had the Lord of the Rings where
yeah. Oh yeah,
Gollum's taking them across
going through the
swamp.
marshes. Yeah. Be patient in your travel there, because as you run through, you can be lost in the bog, or
the wrong way will be your demise. Yeah.
Right. So, and this is the shaft that leads up to our message, which is coming together in the details and details. So be aware of the details, be objective from it, and come together in that, righteous compass and the flying of the angelic being and wings.
I quite like it. I quite like it that it's challenged us with stillness.
Right, right.
I
And
like that.
I mean,
I see
it
that
takes
as a
that.
positive.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I mean, all challenges are positive.
Yeah.
That is never a challenge that is there to demean you. It's there to acknowledge you.
Yeah.
And
Guide you.
right, and it's funny. There's things going on, here that I look at as that child human nature of acknowledgement. Once it's been given, instead of constant exploration, there's now experimentation. And it's that sticks with the human psyche. Uh-oh, are you pressing it for me?
Hmm?
Smoke weed every day. You hit the
No,
button.
no, no, no. I was changing the screen over actually.
Gotcha.
So we're side by side now.
Gotcha. I was like,
But I could go smoke weed every day,
yeah, yeah, you hit
couldn't
the
I?
button.
I could
Yes.
do it, but I won't.
um, whatchamacallit? Yeah, the journey as it is, there's the challenge is brought forth to elicit growth, and it's offering acknowledgement, but not always in the way we want. Like some things, like that didn't. It's not to their taste or whatever. And the reason why is because it's asking you the question, why is that again rub you the wrong way, or
Well, if I'm
why is it
if
presented? Go ahead.
if I'm going to have my interpretation of what this is,
Mm-hmm.
then I will say this, and it's people will be surprised to hear this, maybe, that I think this current pull of this card
Mm-hmm.
denotes the period now
Mm-hmm.
until Nick gets out of prison.
Yeah.
Because I really see this for me as just a moment of stillness.
Coming
Don't do
together,
anything different.
stillness.
Just hang on. Just sit tight, and the truth will out. And that's kind of how I'm reading it. It's how
Yeah.
it feels.
No,
So
yeah. Yeah, that's the shaft of the arrow, and as we release it, it's going. That stillness brings coming together and the details that form all of it. So yes.
yeah, and of course, then you've got the impact of the arrow bump,
Mm-hmm.
which will be after
Yeah.
this.
Yes.
So
Good
yeah,
teams. Good teams.
good things. Sir. Ding. Nice.
I did get a new deck too. Another one.
Have you pulled anything from that yet?
I have not. I have not.
So that's a purely fresh deck.
Yeah.
Okay. Are
It's
you are you going to go for it?
show it to you. Hadn't. It's
Beyond Lemuria.
yeah. And it's got the blue people, and like I don't know.
You're from the blue people.
I'm from the blue people. Oh man, that's the one I bought myself on my birthday, and it lunged out to me. So it was like, yeah. And then I flipped through the cards, and they are really beautiful cards. A lot of mermaid energy, a lot of rebirth energy, and um natural energy too. But it's got the elements section and a chakra section, so it's really cool because I was like, oh man, this is gonna be a good one of those like ether read kind of decks.
Plus, if it's you said mermaid, which applies to the divine feminine
Yeah, it's
energy.
definitely in the divine feminine energy, like, and that's
Yeah,
why I like it. I was like, this is a good time to have it because it's going on right now.
yeah. I popped it in the telegram yesterday. I put divine feminine energy. I'm a big fan. You know.
Yeah,
Yeah, I am.
me too. Like I got a
And
buddy
we're in
that
the age of Aquarius. It's all adding up. It's just all adding up.
definitely like a Pisces deck.
Yeah.
So I was like, yeah, that's gonna be my new favorite deck. I got Maroons too, in. Still
Have you
playing.
got them set out
I don't. I just they're in their package.
or in their bag? Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, I was just wondering
Um.
because if you apparently if you put your runes in a
Mhm.
specific order to you,
Yeah.
only to you in the four walls of your home,
Yeah.
four outer walls, it will protect you. So
Yeah. It will. Like so, I've talked about warding before, and the way I say that it's not like necessarily in glyphs, and it can be, and it can be in runes or stuff too. But I like to look at it as welcoming angels, releasing demons.
yeah, all right. Yeah, I like that.
Because right, it's essentially what you're doing because a lot of afflictions that we do come across are of demonic nature. It can be go back to biblical things like all the ETs or the angels. I mean, sure, because angels are of that paradigm and they're also of that dimensional frequency. They're closer back to source. They,
Yeah.
you know,
It's where
however,
they're most powerful, I suppose.
right, right, and otherwise they do filter into lower vibrational densities and such because a message from straight source would burn the third dimensional mind, you know, much like a ethereal migraine. It's not so much a psychic attack, it's more like you're accosted by a profound sense of knowing, but that knowing hurts in a way.
Yeah.
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 So like
It's like
yeah, the
we,
filter.
we cannot look upon the face of God because it would just blow our minds. Because it's something we're not ready to
Experience, yeah.
experience yet. Yeah. Yeah. How interesting. Yeah. I wish I had more to say about my near death. Because as soon as I was out, I was out. I
Mhm.
didn't know anything, or I've got no recall, none
Yeah.
at all. Um, Maybe it was just a time for stillness and darkness.
Yeah, I mean, so like the poem that I shared with you, the thunder,
Yeah,
and yeah, all right. So that was like a reminiscent of the aftermath of you know, my crossover. So in that sense, it was like basically how you're saying it's that you need that stillness
yeah,
in that way. It's like that offers such a wider grasp on what is defined as reality. It allows for those constructs to be not manipulated but malleable. It's
yeah.
no longer set in stone, but
Bone.
you're in the fluidity of it, and
Yeah,
at times, just much like a deep ocean or deep river, it becomes dark because the light hasn't traveled that far down or hasn't reflected enough. So
yeah.
much in the same, yes.
It's
Um,
like letting go of stubbornness.
yeah, that's a good one too. And
Same thing. You
yeah,
become you become somewhat malleable instead of just a solid no. You know.
yeah, yeah, and that's a good principle for today too. Is snowing, letting it, let that release of ownership, seek not
Yeah,
ownership, sever negative obligation, and then stubbornness, never objects. That would be a good another little thing if you kind of think about it. Being
Yeah.
stubborn, it's never going to object to itself, you know. So you have to kind of take that observer look at, stop being such a stubborn ass, and
Yeah.
yeah, you
Yeah.
release
Snap
it.
out of it. Something's got
Yeah.
to give.
Hmm.
Yeah. Absolutely. Jenna's put up, what do you guys make of reoccurring nightmares?
Um, it depends on the trauma that is centered around it, I think, because like a little about me, for many of my teenage years and childhood, had I was terrified of Freddy Krueger, and
Yeah.
yeah, just immensely terrified because it's like there are things out there in Dreamland that can get you.
Yeah,
So it's like shit. Yeah, they're talking about it. It is real,
they're
because
saying a movie, it's a documentary.
right. So it wasn't just him. It was that entire scope of things, and like I experienced like things like that, like bad, night terrors that would afflict the physical body. So sleep paralysis, things like that. I mean, it doesn't really happen much anymore, but as a kid, it did a lot.
Yeah.
Like so, it was centered in a what you call it, a trauma psyche block, and then re re-emphasized through a horror movie, which elicits that frequency, and it keeps you in that basically that broadband state.
Yeah.
And I mean, for years it took, and then finally, I just released it. I was tired of being afflicted by it. It got to be too much to where it was like you released that care for it, like, and then in
Yeah.
that was like releasing of that stubbornness. Stop fighting it and just letting it wash away, and it did. Now if it's something that's reoccurring, I see more of a message in it. I see more of a telling of a something buried, maybe.
Yeah.
Yeah. So things that should be acknowledged but released. Because the acknowledgement is it's not a payoff. Like those who seek
Agreed.
punishment, or find
I'd
pleasure in punishment, it's only for the acknowledgement. You know.
I'd be sort of, for you, Jenna. I would maybe, and no harm to you. I don't know anything really, but I would say go and have a look at maybe a skeleton in your closet
Hmm.
and say to yourself, that might be one I haven't really dealt with
Right.
yet. And that might be an end to your nightmares because you're saying, okay, I got the message.
Right.
Um,
Now
I'm
examine.
working on it.
Right. And take the rain method. Recognize, accept, investigate, and then not identify.
Oh, here we go. In the nightmare, the short version is I'm being kidnapped from my dad. I take that as I need to go be with my family. I hear you. Yeah, yeah, it can be as simple as that. It can be the fact that you now feel the tether between your family is becoming so thin you can almost feel it slipping away, and that
Yeah.
can't happen.
Yeah. Uh,
Yeah, yeah,
Beautifully
I'll go with
put.
that.
Yeah.
You know it's time to reconnect. That's
Hmm.
all. Hi, Taylor. You're not invisible. Oh, is she coming in?
If she wants to, she has the link.
She's put, "Am I still invisible?" So she might have tried to come in.
I don't see. Well, like yesterday, she had said something about not being able to see your chat. Like she was invisible on yours.
Oh, right. Was she in my room yesterday?
Mm-hmm.
How come she wasn't coming up?
No idea. Like that's what she was wondering.
How bizarre. How bizarre. Nobody's got any restrictions on them. Certainly not from my end. Nobody. So,
It's
you
one of
know,
those things. Yeah.
yeah. How bizarre. Oh, bless you. You were invisible to me then for a while. You must have been. Dear,
She may
dear.
have been here for a minute. Who knows?
Yeah. Yeah. Can you, what was the first post you wrote, Taylor? Can you tell us? Was it, "Am I still invisible"? Let's have a look. Yeah. Yeah, the first one I've got of you is, "Am I still invisible?" Lol.
Yeah. Those. Um. Hmm.
Mm.
There was a another tangent I had, kind of about. See, my writing is scratch. You know, hell, I can't read it at times. So,
What have you got? Some kind of decoder somewhere that allows you to read it back?
at times, yeah, it's mostly translation.
Oh, she put, "It was weird. I knew you guys were on." Lol. Must have been Jenna.
It's the
Yeah.
tings.
The tings, yeah,
It's
let's
the
do it.
tings.
You can't resist the ting.
Nope.
Who can?
This is a madhouse over here, man.
What is that you're reading, or you can't tell, right?
I mean, it's the muse, you know, in written form, but shit.
It's for a future race
Yeah,
to figure it out.
yeah. I mean, I look at it, you know, and so this is what I have to do. It's this writing, and then hell, a week later, I'll be able to do a video about it. But this was essentially the message for today, and or the weekend. But then the weekend became serving back to self because self care is needed. You know.
Yeah.
Ah, okay. So leading thyself down a path of enlightenment takes a truthful position of objective persona, and then you reveal to self the sacred clown, whom in playful manner beckons the heartfelt truth to bubble forth, to ripple. Mm, something. Can't read that. Yep. So there's about a sentence and a half of translation for you.
Well
Yeah.
done. Oh, I've just got smoke in my eye. Oh,
Oh no,
oh, there's
no, she
nothing
can't.
worse.
No, I hate it when that happens. You know, it's painful.
Yeah,
Uh,
well, you know all about smoke. You're a fireman.
yeah, that too. Well,
Yeah,
I I gauge it by the taste. You know,
yeah.
like don't taste. Sometimes if it don't taste right, it's weird. Yeah.
I didn't know that smoke really tasted of anything.
Well, I mean, you're not supposed to taste it. I'm just a weird person. It's,
Look, you're talking to somebody who sees auras, mate. It's no
yeah,
problem
so it's
whatsoever.
like, uh, yeah, it's kind of in the same line. You have
Yeah.
it's a sense of smell and taste of things. Yeah,
Mm.
there she is.
That's got a proper psychology name.
Yeah, it's I'm gonna go back to try and translate because
Well,
picking at the hedges too much. I can't.
the reason I know this is because I've got a really good friend who's my namesake, um, who has Asperger's syndrome, and he sees music in color.
Yeah,
And
yeah,
some, yeah, some people taste music or
yeah,
see different things different ways. But he used to see music in color, which I thought was just amazing. I wanted to be able to see that too. You know.
for sure. And that's kind of too like how I see that divine energy, that life stream that we were talking about earlier. I see it in music.
Yeah.
It's like there's this musical melody that travels along its vibrations, and
In a
it
certain
connects
way that shows you what it is.
right, and it connects through everything. I like walking in nature is profoundly wonderful for me because that there's just this deeper felt music to it all. It's really
Yeah,
cool.
like we said, a symphony.
Yeah.
Yeah. Finally. Amelia's in. Hi,
Yeah.
Amelia.
Yeah. Jenna asked if she could read it, and it's like she caught her on because not 2 minutes after she popped in and said hey, and no, she can't.
No.
There's I'm not sure there's really anybody that just really wants to pick it up and try because it's a scribbled language. I'm not gonna call it a foreign language because I mean it's based in English, but
It's got some kind of base to it.
yeah.
Yeah. Is it the Rosetta Stone? Is it? Was it?
There's I have not set one up. No.
No, you should.
Oh man, yeah, Lord,
Yeah.
that would be an endeavor for some psychosis for sure.
Oh yeah. Oh yeah.
Oh man, it's funny though. In my book, in the series, throughout it, there are languages I've manifested and kind of brought about, and you
How
know,
can I how can I go about getting a copy of your book?
I'll send it to you once I have them.
Okay.
Yeah, so that'll get worked out. But as soon as they are on paper and ready to go, I'll have a box or two. Yeah.
Top man.
Um. Uh. sorry, tangent. Yeah, I have to go back and retranslate the languages within. That's part of the fluffing I have to do, because in the moment it makes perfect sense. Like I mean, I'm in the flow. I know what's happening, context, and I write this mysterious language, and I keep moving. And then a day later, I go back and I'm rereading it, and it's like, okay, I can speak it. I still have no idea what I just. I'll
well,
have to hammer
Jenna's
that
just
one
put
out.
based in English, written in chicken.
Yes, yes. Uh,
Oh dear. It's the same with doctors over here. You can't read the doctor's writing.
yeah.
No way. No way. Um, yeah,
It's definitely the scribble scratch.
I'm left-handed, and I'm told my handwriting's really quite neat. So
Yeah, well, you showed us a page, and I think it is. I mean, you got you know proper structure to it. Mine is no, not.
you base your literaries on the chaos theory. Yeah,
Yes, yes. It is fluid and it goes that way. Sometimes that way, and other times this way.
brilliant, brilliant. Ah, so good, so good. You just need to get it down on paper, don't you? As quick as
Yeah,
you can.
yeah. It's
Yeah.
and a lot of times that's how it is. Like there was one a while back I did waiting on Amelia. She was at the hair place, and I was just sitting outside. She was like, "You can go home," but I man, I had the book open. I filled about 3.5 pages. It was just going. It's like almost automatic writing, but
Coming
it's
out of your hand,
right, right,
right?
and
Yeah.
it had a really cool message. It was like the one that I got in the little anthology that's about you know the visions of the halls of Amenti and whatnot. It's from antiquity, I think it was. Yeah, from
Yeah.
antiquity is yeah.
Awesome. I don't know where it comes from, do you?
The ether, the scribe within, past knowledge, future knowledge, all of it.
Yeah.
It's the storyteller. It's that that Heyoka is very much so prevalent in the energy that I like to encompass. It's
Yeah.
the sacred clown, but it's also the the telling mirror at the same time. It's the story I'm telling is yours and everyone else's,
Yeah.
mine as well, but
Yeah.
it's a story nonetheless.
Absolutely. I always try now to imagine my presence to everybody's world.
Mm-hmm.
So what happens when I walk in the room? How does how how would it affect somebody if I had my head held high and my brow,
Yeah.
you know, how would that happen? And empathy brings you to that, and it makes for a more beautiful way of being. You can. How many times have you said you can feel the tension in that
Yes.
person? You can practically feel it.
Yes. I mean, and it's like at some point it's tangible because you damn near can see it. Like
Yeah,
that ethereal smoke, much like you see auras. It's like we
correct.
literally see the vibes. It's like it's distortion in space and
Yeah,
frequency. It's wild.
yeah. We're all having, which just proves to me we're all having such an effect on one another.
Yeah. I
And,
mean, for
and,
real.
and
Yeah. It's that gathering that come together.
yeah, yeah, definitely. And you know, by keeping the spirits up and the love flowing and the the gentle giving
Yep.
over of my knowledge to younger generations and so on, I
Yeah.
feel like it can only do good. You know, it
Yeah.
can only do good.
I mean,
Let's hope so.
that's I have such a grateful heart to that same circumstance. What you are giving, I have received in my upbringing, and
Yeah,
it's made me essentially who I was and am, continue to be. We need more of that.
of
It,
course we do.
yeah, not necessarily like it's back to guidance. Guidance of self, guidance of worth, guidance of earth. So
Yeah,
yeah,
yeah. There's a reason why they would call the higher people in a culture
yeah,
elementals,
yeah,
and that's because they are back to the fundamental elements
yeah.
of the earth and of this realm, and they are often seen as, you know,
Mhm.
what do they call them in like monks?
Yeah. Shit.
I can't think of the names,
Yeah. Not.
but
Yeah.
they're the
Yeah.
ones that used to bring the wisdom and the stories and tell you the tales that
Hmm.
their forefathers told them.
Right.
And elemental doesn't mean untouchable. It
Mhm.
just means back to how it should be,
Right.
you know?
In that sense of giving forth in that gentle gardener flow kind of thing. It's like, it wasn't imposed will, it was
No, there
more
was
right.
nothing
It,
pushed onto anybody.
right.
It was
It's like
just
gentle gardener, the
planting seeds.
yeah,
The
planting
gentle
seeds.
gardener.
Yes.
Yeah. The taking away of the pruning of the bush. It's, I mean,
Yeah.
but yeah,
The bonsai tree, you gotta kind of
do
cultivate
it a
it a little
certain
bit.
way.
Yeah, right. As it needs.
Yeah, in it, Jenna. You just picked up on me saying in it,
In it. Yep.
but it is though, in it.
Yes, it is. Just like that. Amelia's asking if anyone's feeling the massive change.
Absolutely. That's where the whole conversation started, right, mate?
Yeah.
Absolutely, Amelia. You feeling it too? To ask the question, you must be.
Yeah.
Incredible. Incredible. It's not just you.
No, not at all. That's why I was kind of shit shouting out to you when the show first started, darling, about soul contracts this morning when I got off, and time to get
Yeah.
shifty in here. Hell yeah. Ah, snap. Nice.
Did you did you did you talk to me about soul contracts or with the group?
No, we did to start the show, but I'm saying that was mine and Amelia's conversation when we
Yeah.
first kind of linked up this
No,
morning.
I'm saying it for the group. I remember it, mate, but I'm wondering if the group heard it because
Oh yeah,
pretty good. Pretty good.
mm-hmm.
Um, all right. Well, I'm getting hungry.
Yeah, I am too. Actually, and she's saying it's her lunch break. Come feed me, lady.
Yeah, yeah. I think I'm. I think I'm gonna have a bite to eat.
Oh well, we can call it a day and go receive some sustenance. Hopefully, we offered some spiritual sustenance today.
We'll have some BLTs, I think.
Sandwich sounds good.
Yeah. Yeah. Something tasty. All right then, my friend.
Yeah,
It's been my absolute pleasure.
it has. It was
Thank
wonderful
you, sir.
talk. We brought some whimsy to the wonders.
Yeah. Covered some stuff.
Yeah. So
All right. You take care. I'll bug out.
we'll do
Okay.
it again soon. Yes. Love you, brother. Thank you.
Love you too, man. You take care.
Yes, sir.